Oh, yeah.
Okay, we are live. Hi, this is William Ramsey. Welcome to William Ramsey Investigates. On today's show, I have a very special guest, returning guest. It's Todd Wood of Killafornia. If you listen to my show, you've heard him a number of times. Covered a lot of different subjects. William Joseph Bryan, other shows, deaths. We covered one about the Zodiac. We've done shows. I've been on his show with Walter Bosley. We recently did one on Catcher in the Rye. But today, it's just something I was interested in. Some of the kind of lesser-known stories of the JFK assassination that took place, was it November 22nd, 1963. And the timing of this, that we kind of set this time 2 or 3 weeks ago before what happened yesterday. Because what happened yesterday was a hearing for the House Task Force on the Declassification of Federal Secrets, which is going to drop a lot of JFK files, already has done it. And there's been a lot of talk on my social media about these new files. A lot of consternation and conflict. Are they valuable? Are they layouts? I've had people. The interesting thing is that one of the guys who has been on my show, I think 3 or 4 times, is Jefferson Morley, who was the first speaker at the task force hearing on declassification of federal secrets. So it's pretty cool to see him in public. I thought he did an excellent job. And he kind of focused in on the fact that the CIA agents were lying. And so as an expert, somebody he's been, like he said, if you watch the hearing, he said he was been studying JFK for 30 years. So he's been one of those expert long researchers. But he also featured on there was Oliver Stone of the 1991 film JFK, and then Jim DiEugenio, who I've had on. Well, I haven't had on. I've had his co-writer, which is the JFK Choke Points, a new book, and that was the guy.
Right.
Yeah.
He wrote.
Let me finish the intro. Okay. Once I say welcome to the show, then start talking. Okay. So I've had the guy. He was actually sitting behind Eugenio. So I have had these people around. So it's still a pertinent topic. People are still talking about it. Ben Shapiro said it was no big deal. I think it means everything, because it means the kind of our relationship to the state and how the state can be overthrown and policies and things can change. But I'm going to play this video that I have of Jim DiEugenio. It's from yesterday. And he kind of brings up the topic that Todd and I were going to talk about it. So it's pretty cool. So this ties into the theme of this show about the earlier attempt on JFK that was supposed to or may have taken place on November 2nd, 1963. And the patsy that people think is a patsy was a guy by the name of Thomas Arthur Vallee, Vallee. And I have some interesting reading that I'm going to read from a book that a lot of JFK researchers, or somebody that's popularized JFK knowledge in the public, is a great book by Douglas titled JFK and the Unspeakable, but we'll get to that. But I'm going to play this video now.
One thing that the gentleman down here asked about, see, very few people know there were 3 attempts on JFK's life in November, okay? There was one in Chicago, there was one in Tampa, and then there was the successful one, in Dallas. The Chicago attempt so much resembles what happened in Dallas that if the Secret Service would have given all those records over, okay, then the Dallas one might have been prevented. At the one in Tampa, that one, there was just the opposite of Dallas. You had wall-to-wall Secret Service, FBI, etc. And Kennedy was so happy that he got away, that he stayed after at the Floridian Hotel and insisted on shaking hands with every single officer that was involved in that attempt. All right? So these are some of the records that are still out there.
And that guy to the left, if you're watching this on Rockfin or you're watching this on Rumble or X, the guy to the left of him is Matt Crumpton with the red tie. And he is the host of Solving JFK and a co-author of Mr. DiEugenio. And then behind him is the guy from the Christic Institute, whose name I can't remember right now. But Todd sent me a video of him, which I can bring up, saying that F. Lee Bailey was a CIA paid asset, which is something Todd sent to me. But anyway, we're going to talk about this guy, Thomas Arthur Vallee, and the attempt on JFK. So JFK knew they were after him. Anyway,
yeah.
Todd, welcome to the show.
Yeah, they did. They did know that. I mean, that's kind of hard to live with if you think about it. Like, you definitely don't envy JFK. I mean, people really didn't like him. Curtis LeMay hated him. LBJ was after him. You know, it kind of never ended until November 22nd, 1963. What's interesting about the Chicago plot, in my opinion, the thing that stands out to me is Abraham Bowman, who is the first African American to serve the White House detail in the Secret Service. This guy was legit. He was a highway patrolman. He was a Pinkerton detective, and he was a concert pianist. I mean, he's a pretty amazing person. But yeah, there's a lot of parallels between the Chicago plot and the Dallas plot, right? I mean, would you agree with that, William?
Oh, 100%. I mean, they had a guy, they were moving people into place. So this guy, if you're watching this, his face, Vallee was actually he was supposedly working on anti-Cuban activities in Long Island, of all places. But he suddenly moves back to Chicago in place, in a building, much like Oswald, same background, literal Manchurian candidate. Guy was in the Korean War, had supposed mental problems. So I think he was in a Marine, which I think Oswald was a Marine, and kind of just a strange background. And so there's all kinds of strange parallels. Yeah.
No, I've heard a bunch of different things. Correct me if I'm wrong, but so just like the Dallas plot, JFK is going to make that hairpin turn, and he's going to pass before a building with open windows. Now, Thomas Arthur Vallee, was he working at a lithograph?
Yes, yeah, that's right. Yeah,
was that like a factory or a plant of some sort, like stone printing?
Something like that, but also short term. Like it wasn't like he was in Chicago for a long period of time, if I remember correctly.
Right,
but
right.
I do have information. I've got some articles and things like that. But they, I mean, it's all weird. And you bring up Bolden because Bolden was key to why the assassination did not take place. Right. Because Bolden supposedly got information from Secret. Bolden, by the way, was African American. He was specifically hired by JFK.
Yes.
So literally, JFK hires a guy in 61 who saves his life in 63. And then they persecuted Bolden, and I think he got a pardon from Biden, like during the Biden administration. Like I think
right. Well, with Bowden, you know, the funny thing is, like he started off, his first detail was the men's room, right, and that's where he met JFK.
Huh.
He was guarding the men's room, and then JFK asked him if he wanted to be the Jackie Robinson of the Secret Service, and he said yes, sir, and he went with it. But the Secret Service abused the crap out of him. I mean, they racial slurs. I mean, just that they one place that they were protecting the president. They were staying in this little house, and someone brought a noose to the house.
Wow. So it's super intense racism, yeah.
Racism, yeah. And I mean, the Secret Service at that point was just a bunch of old country boys. And, you know, they got these country boys, just to jump to the Dallas plot for a second, they got drunk the night before the assassination. You know, on White Lightning, moonshine. So, but anyways, back to Chicago. Another interesting aspect is it really, you're right. It really seems like this Thomas Arthur Vallee was like, he was just like Oswald. He was set up to be a patsy. Like he was almost created to be a patsy, right?
I think so. Something like that. he seemed to have been managed like all his life, and even up until the end, like he was put into place like they were going to do it. Mentally disturbed. Somebody had called him schizophrenic. So he was the right person. He was carrying a gun. He was arrested. So the rumor was there was a 4-man shooting team of Cubans who were coming to kill Kennedy. And then he's the only one arrested. Then he's let go. And then he's covered up. The FBI is covering everything up. They can't find stuff about him. There's supposed close ties to he and Oswald had some kind of connection to a car that they could never confirm that.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Speaking of the Cubans, the interesting thing is about that is like I think the rumor is one of the Cubans was David Morales. I think that's his name. They call him the Big Indian, and like this guy is a legit CIA killer. Like it's said like if you see this guy walking through a town in South America or something like that, everybody knew that town was that government was gonna be overthrown in like a week.
Wow. I believe it.
Yeah,
I know Morales. Like I've actually communicated with his son.
Oh, really? Yeah. Did he die in Arizona?
He went on to see an old friend in D.C., and within a week he had died of a heart attack.
I see.
And he was pictured at the JFK assassination on November 22nd, I believe. There's a sighting of him.
Yeah, I mean, the stuff between like just not. I don't want to take us too far off course, but I just wanted to bring up, the Thomas Arthur Vallee and Oswald and that car thing is really interesting. But I also want to bring up Patrick Kearney, the trash bag killer. Would that be okay?
Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
And like his supposed connection, he tells this from his jail cell. He writes this crime writer Amanda Howard, and telling her that he was or claiming that he was in the military language class with Oswald in California. And he actually drove Oswald to the Texas-Mexico border and stuff like that. Now, as we know with the JFK assassination, the CIA claimed that Oswald was in Mexico. Of course, later it came out, David Atlee Phillips finally admitted it, that Oswald was actually never in Mexico, and that was somebody else completely. But just as a side note, these JFK files may be a really good opportunity to fact check the serial killer Patrick Kearney, also known as the trash bag killer, right? He had ties to New Orleans, and there's a chance he may have just been a hitman. Of course, Howard Hughes. There's always been that rumor that Howard Hughes was somehow on the periphery of the assassination. Patrick Kearney worked for Hughes Aircraft as an electrical engineer. He got hired with just a high school diploma. So, the guy kind of has spook written all over him as well. But to get back to the Chicago plot, 4 gunmen. It's at that boarding house, and it's very similar to the situation with Oswald. Oswald was sort of staying at that boarding house when he was separated from his wife, right? His wife was staying with Ruth Payne.
Right.
Yeah.
No, it's very strange. And even in the articles that I was reading about Vallee, there were rumors that some guy that had the pseudonym of Oswald was traveling Chicago. They could never verify it because there was a clampdown. But the Oswald may have been, or one of the second Oswalds or the doubles, may have been traveling into Chicago too. So it is weird. Like one of the interesting things, I've read JFK and the Unspeakable. It was kind of JFK's death wish. Like he knew he was being hunted. Like he was aware in Miami. That's what Eugenio said. And these guys knew, like he didn't go to Chicago. He ended up not going to Chicago because of the threat. That's the whole thing. He used the excuse of he had a mild cold, but he didn't even show up on site. But there's a really good, like one of the earliest researchers, it's a guy by the name of Harold Weisberg. You can find a lot of his documents. He was just fastidious researcher, like documentary and archiving everything. So his archive of the Vallee files is available on the Internet Archive. And he was really kind of like the kind of maybe one of the research brains behind Jim Garrison. They had kind of a following out. He didn't like Garrison's style, but I think it was just their sensibilities were different.
I see.
But these are from the wise.
With Bowman, though, it's interesting. It was wasn't it Garrison and Mark Lane who got Bowman out of prison?
Bolden?
Yeah, Bowden. I'm sorry.
It's Bolden. Yeah. So.
Yeah, it's just been a long day.
Yeah, it's cool. But yeah, he worked counterfeiting. 1964. He was charged with supposedly in a counterfeiting case, and then was sent to jail forever. Like, wow.
Yeah.
Pretty crazy.
Mm-hmm.
But Weisberg, I mean, you can go through his stuff. He wrote a lot of books. He amassed 250,000 government documents. I mean, the guy was just a super researcher. But these are some of the old cases against Vallee. He was arrested for having this gun. So he had a hunting knife and a rifle, supposedly.
Right.
And these are all the documents from Weisberg. It's pretty incredible. Unlawful use of weapons is in here.
Yeah.
But here's this odd teletype. Assassination of President. Lee Harvey Oswald is Dash. Thomas Arthur Vallee. They're mentioned in the same document. And these are all I've read through other FBI documents back in the day. They didn't have email, obviously. So to CC, they would have all the top FBI agents' names, and they would check that off to make sure they got copies of these docs. And so this was one that was distributed through the FBI, but it's Thomas Arthur Vallee, one, and his address. Considered possible suspect, arrested by Chicago PD November 2, after notification by Secret Service that Vallee might cause trouble during President Kennedy's visit to Chicago. Investigation by Secret Service determined Vallee, member of USMC during Korean conflict, literal Manchurian candidate. So that's like where Manchuria is, right?
Right.
Receiving complete disability from Veterans Administration as a result of being wounded. One day arrested by Chicago PD, noted to have in his possession 300 rounds of ammunition, 2 M1 rifles, 22 caliber revolver.
Mm-hmm. Well, God, that's amazing. That's a lot. Kennedy was going to Soldier Field, right?
I don't remember.
But
he had something connected. It was one of these cars that he had license plate, one in California, that there was some kind of overlap with, potential overlap with Oswald. I'm not saying that people had speculated it, but these are some.
When Oswald was in military language class, perhaps, or something like that, he owned the same car.
Well, here's the list from the FBI. It's review of records. Marine Corps, 1949, left in 1952 in North Carolina. So he's moving around a lot like Oswald. He had a reserve number. He's honorably discharged as a corporal. Physical disability without severance. Find a physical out of Marine. Naval speed lever to the chief medicine and security, 1956. They requested a bed be designated in the Veterans Administration Hospital in the case of Caucasian male Thomas Arthur Vallee. So he had been in the hospital, at 56. Physical evaluation. And this is interesting. Vallee was referred to the neuropsychiatric department. Whenever somebody goes in to a neuropsychiatric department in the 50s, you should be really concerned.
Of
the post, right? Exactly. Of the post dispensary for psychiatric evaluation because of extremely abnormal nervousness and periods of excitement in which he cannot talk to anyone. So he was in almost catatonia. He is also said to be very hyperactive and does not get along well in the barracks. Vallee has had 2 episodes of passable concussion, once when a mortar shell exploded near him in Korea, and a second time in an auto accident, which required hospitalization for 2 months. That's very telling. Whenever in the hospital for a long period of time, who else was in the hospital for a long period of time in Akatsuki? Oswald.
Right.
Who was in a long period of time in California? Sirhan.
Right.
Who was a hospital orderly in Hawaii? Chapman.
Yeah. Is there any evidence of perhaps hypnosis or anything like that?
Well, we're getting there. He's functioning well within the average range of intellectual evaluation. Vallee shows indications of paranoid thinking. We see then a rather weak male person, a weak ego structure, with experiences difficulty in his interpersonal relationship with males, but compensating by building up a somewhat pseudo concept of his own virility. There are, in addition, indications from psychological tests of some type of organic difficulty. And that stuff is, he's been in the care of psychiatrists.
Yeah.
The patient was discharged against medical advice at the request of himself and family into their custody with the diagnosis, and it's blacked out. Like, this is crazy.
Yeah.
Like, it's super sus. This is another document from the FBI. Report of Shanahan title, Lee Harvey Oswald, Internal Security, Tom A. Vallee, different names so they don't spell the name right. That's the way that they cover stuff up in records, because you can't find it. So like they misplace a last name letter.
Right. So Oswald with an S becomes Oswald with a Z.
They do all kinds of stuff like that. Those are tricks.
Yeah.
And so this is like an element of the cover-up. This is it. Thomas Vallee. I've listened to phone banks that go back to 1962. He's never been listed, but the plot thickens. As you may remember, I have a friend who works for the county at Chicago and knows people who have access to the police files. A couple of months ago, he had a man who was looking into some matters in the area where they keep records of potential assassins and other types. Look up Thomas Vallee. While looking through those files, the person is always being watched by a police official and has only a certain amount of time. The first time he was in there, he said there was a folder for Thomas Vallee, but he didn't have enough time to take it out and look at it. The next time he was in there, it was over a month later, he went in to take out the file on Thomas Vallee to look at it, and it was gone. You can take it from there and decide what the implications of that are. I think there are many within the next 2 weeks myself of someone else is going to contact the manager of the apartment hotel where Vallee lived at the time he was arrested. I found a contact in Florida and expect to get some detailed information about the Phantoms MC. One interesting thing I found so far, the year Kennedy was killed, the Phantoms was a small motorcycle club that hung around West Palm Beach. So he's in like a motorcycle club too. Crazy.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So Vallee were ex-Marines who served during the 1950s with assignments at U-2 bases in Japan. Yeah. Oswald at Atsugi and Vallee at Camp Atsu.
Oh, wow.
So they're both in Japan at the same time. Both linked to CIA activities. Both may have been recruited for related black missions. Mm-hmm. Vallee was reportedly involved in training anti-Castro guerrillas in Long Island. Both were characterized as loners with extremist tendencies. Vallee is a member of the right-wing John Birch Society. They both held jobs in buildings overlooking planned presidential motorcade routes. Oswald, Texas Books Depository in Dallas, and Vallee at IPP Lithoplate in Chicago. Wow, crazy. So crazy.
Yeah, so, I mean, it is crazy. You kind of have to ask the question, how long have they been planning this? You know, you have again, like Eugenio said, you have Chicago, Tampa, and then Dallas, right?
Right.
I mean, you think they've been planning it since he got in, or since maybe the Bay of Pigs?
Bay of Pigs. I think it's Bay of Pigs. Yeah. A year in the Cuban Missile Crisis, they just start, and then it's like, we're a go. Let's go. You know, start moving everybody in place, put all your assets in place, chat, get everybody on board. There's just other things like documents containing the name Thomas Vallee are withheld from research at the request of the FBI. So the FBI is covering this up.
Yeah.
Crazy. Like they just disappeared the guy. Back in the day, it's probably, I don't know. Have you ever heard of the name Sherman Skolnick?
I think I've heard the name in the past. I don't remember the context.
He was one of the early like Mae Brussel types. He was kind of all parapolitics and stuff. Weisberg had a conflict with him. He was calling him a jerk and stuff.
I see.
There was another attempt on Nixon, a different gunman, James E. Beavers. Like same thing, mental illness, South shell-shocked in the military, in a mental hospital. This guy's never even really mentioned, you know, as like a possible, you know, hypno-programmed assassin. But this is from the Weisberg files, so I thought I'd mention it.
Right. Well, you know, it's interesting. You know, last night on Killafornia, I had a conversation with George from CavDev. And we were talking about the hand of death and stuff like that, and the assassination attempt on, I guess it was Jimmy Carter, and the two guys that were going to, I guess, kill Jimmy Carter. One was Raymond Lee Harvey and Ryle or Oswaldo or something like that.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
And another thing,
it's almost like it's signal, right? They're signaling him.
Right.
Get you.
Another interesting thing is like we have to like with the FBI covering up all this stuff is, the really close friends with Hoover was LBJ.
Right.
They
live down the street.
Yeah.
From each other, and they were like very close. I think Nelson was a guy I talked to. He wrote a book about like their close relationship.
Yeah.
J. Edgar Hoover knew a lot more. He was almost like a CIA level type person of knowledge of a lot of secret knowledge and stuff.
Well, the thing with J. Edgar Hoover's proclivities, it's like it's almost like opposites attract, because I can't imagine LBJ being tolerant of anything like that.
Right. It seems weird.
Yeah, it's a little weird.
Yeah, this guy, he had Vallee had connections to people in Long Island and Chicago. So like, just weird. Like, I mean, there's just all kinds of stories. But this is the one that is the license plate that connects to Oswald. It's from a guy by the name of Bill Corley, who worked for NBC. Information given the facts Vallee had been picked up on 2,000 rounds of ammunition, a knife, and a small arsenal in his car. That the car had New York license plates and other information that we have military service, political affiliation. He called NBC News. They forgot it. He asked Luke Hester, who had come from New York, if he knew anyone. Hester's father was a police captain. He replied there was an FBI freeze on information about the license plate, and that Luke would probably get a visit from the FBI about it. And he remembers that most likely Thanksgiving, 2 FBI men went to Luke Hester's home and asked him why he was checking on that license number. So this is like right after the assassination of JFK. So it's something about this had some connection.
Wasn't Vallee, after the failed attempt in Chicago, wasn't he immediately arrested?
Yes. Yeah. He was the only one arrested.
That's kind of like that's a red flag.
Sure is.
Yeah.
Here it is. They didn't mention names in the interview. That's one, but the other's more intriguing. Corley remembers no such discussion as the freeze being placed on the license number because of some connection with Oswald. He recalls no such thing. As a matter of fact, he says he later talked to Marlon Johnson, FBI chief here, and Johnson only indicated to him that the FBI freeze on the license number was done at the request of the Secret Service. So was it the FBI or the Secret Service? So there's something about they thought back then that the license plate was connected to both of them, which is really crazy. Then his phone gets tapped. Like, this is the classic kind of deep state harassment that occurred around the JFK assassination. The phone, the attempt, just all this great. He said that when he was asked by NBC management about the overtime devoted to the case, he justified it by saying it was a story of local interest involved a right winger planning to do the same thing Oswald, the left winger, did. So there's no doubt in my mind that Vallee was planning to hit the president.
Wow.
Yeah, crazy.
So, do you think E. Howard Hunt was involved in the Chicago plot?
I don't know. I just saw some post by Grobert, Hunley and Grobert, those guys you watch a lot of. But he said that he thinks that E. Howard Hunt was in Dallas. Like he says that all these guys were cited in Dallas.
Right. Well, Mark Lane, the person who wrote Rush to Judgment, actually got, I believe he got E. Howard Hunt to admit he was in Dallas.
Oh, okay.
On the 21st. And then it was on E. Howard Hunt's deathbed where he said he was on the periphery of the assassination, which was like he was the paymaster. Right?
Yeah, very dishonest guy. So I don't know if you could take it, you got to take his words with a grain of salt. Right. Minimizing his involvement. He was involved in so much subterfuge and dark stuff. Like, he could not write an honest autobiography. Right. Watergate, possibly Chappaquiddick. Mm-hmm. Certainly associated with James Earl Ray, according to James Earl Ray himself,
Yeah.
which ties him to MLK.
Arthur
Bremer, all that stuff.
Bremer. Yeah. Yeah, no, it's just so people know, like what he claims is it was David Morales and Frank Sturgis who took the shot on JFK, the two gunmen.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, it could have been. I'm of the mind it was probably the Cubans, and like maybe Frank Sturgis was like a backup or a bench warmer of some sort.
Yeah, I don't know.
Of course, Frank Sturgis had close connections with Jack Ruby.
I've heard that. Yeah, these are crazy. JFK and the Unspeakable, I mentioned this earlier at the intro, has a lot on Vallee. So it's kind of interesting because he's not a common story you hear of in the JFK saga. It's really encyclopedic stuff about JFK, but kind of covers some of the stuff we already covered.
Right.
His sister said, my brother was probably set up. He was very much used. Mm-hmm. He suffered a kind of stuff I've already covered. Like he had a concussion. He went back for a second term in the Marines in 1955. It quotes all the stuff I just quoted, actually. Thomas Vallee had been led along a trail that Lee Oswald would follow after him. In his most revealing interview, Vallee told investigative reporter Edwin Black that he'd been assigned by the Marines to a U-2 base in Japan, Camp Otsu. Vallee thereby came under the control of the Central Intelligence Agency, which commanded the U-2, just as Oswald would come under the CIA's control as a radar operator at CIA U-2 base at Atsugi.
Right.
Vallee also told Black that he later worked with the CIA at a camp near Levittstown, Long Island, helping to train Cuban exiles to assassinate Fidel Castro. So he's right there in the mix of all the stuff, just like Oswald was.
Right. See, that's interesting. I didn't even know that there was a Cuban paramilitary camp in Long Island.
I didn't either.
Yeah, that's wild.
This is Douglas. Thomas Arthur Vallee and Lee Harvey Oswald, two men under the CIA's thumb for years, were being set up, one after the other, as scapegoats in two prime sites for killing Kennedy. In August 1963, as Oswald was preparing to move from New Orleans back to Dallas, Vallee moved from New York City back to Chicago. So it's like the same setup, man. Incredible. Mention all this stuff. With the help of a friendly real estate agent, I stood on the roof of the building, this is Douglas, in which Thomas Arthur Vallee worked in December 1963. It's very similar to the view that I had from the Texas School Book Depository during a trip I made to Lee Harvey Oswald's workplace in Dallas. So this was Douglas.
Mind-blowing.
Yeah. Thomas Vallee had two people in particular to thank for his not becoming the scapegoat in a presidential assassination that almost occurred beneath his Chicago workplace. Lieutenant Berkeley Moyland, a member of the Chicago Police Department, was the first interviewing angel who saved Vallee from suffering what would soon become Oswald's fate. You probably can't repeat it, but you ought to know it, he says. He wouldn't share the experience. Moyland sized up Vallee quickly as a damaged, imbalanced personality. He also realized Vallee probably had weapons in his possession, as would soon be confirmed. Mm-hmm. He phoned the Secret Service, got the tip, so this is all it. Let's see. Thanks to the intervention of Berkeley Moyland and the unidentified Lee, Thomas Arthur Vallee was spared the shame of being identified in the public's mind as President Kennedy's assassin. And there's another one that's crazy. He was the only one in Chicago positively identified, according to this. After the Dallas, Vallee alone was exposed in Chicago as if the only precedent were that of another gun-toting malcontent like Lee Harvey Oswald. The real parallels between the two CIA-connected scapegoats, both set up with jobs directly over the president's motorcade, vanished along with the snipers behind them. Yeah, see. It's the patsy creation. That's what people don't get. They're not creating shooters. They're creating patsies.
You know what's interesting about that? Was it William Joseph Bryan was one of his quotes, I believe, was, I can create an MK Ultra assassin in 6 months, but I can create an MK Ultra or a Manchurian patsy in a month.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, people, they can't contextualize it, so they miss these statements these guys make. They don't understand the specialized knowledge. Lee Harvey Oswald and Thomas Arthur Vallee had traveled the same punishing road of CIA covert action. They were disposable pawns in a high-risk game. As a result of his medical history, Vallee was the more disposable of the two. This is his sister. As Mary Vallee Portillo told me, my brother was probably set up. He was very much used. Thomas Vallee, like Oswald, was a vulnerable, low-level intelligence asset, intensely loyal to the government he served, on the verge of being jettisoned alongside the president. Mm-hmm. However, unlike Oswald, Vallee survived.
Wow.
Yeah, that's crazy.
So Vallee, so you're saying he died? Did he die of old age? He died.
Yeah, 1988 or 1998 or something like that.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, I got this long article too. I don't know if you want to go through it, but it's basically another article from one of the independent magazines at the time. It's called the Chicago Independent. And I just mentioned this guy's name, Black or something.
Yeah. Chicago is just one of those. It's like Dallas. It's just one of those places where bad stuff happens, I guess.
Yeah, really. It's just like corruption, like, whoa. Crazy.
Yeah. Yeah. It used to be the most one of the most dangerous places in America. Now I think Memphis has overtaken it in recent years.
Wow, that's wild to think that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, JFK was scheduled to attend the Army Air Force game at Soldiers Field. He planned to ride O'Hare at 11 a.m. motorcade.
Yeah, and Curtis LeMay was supposed to be there.
See, there you go. It all makes sense. He's being trailed by his killers, LeMay really wants to see him dead.
Yeah, and Curtis LeMay did not like JFK. He's one of those guys who JFK, like, he kept offering advice and JFK wouldn't take any of it. It just didn't sit well.
No. But I mean, LeMay was like, he was like a crazy right winger from Dr. Strangelove. The guy was totally out of his mind.
Right.
He like firebombed Tokyo, all kinds of stuff. Like, no shame. Right. We can win a nuclear war, like, just out of his freaking mind.
Yeah. Yeah. You're right. So I'd like to know, what is your opinion? What happened that day in Dallas? Who do you think did the shooting? Do you think it was LBJ behind everything, or do you think it was
No. I think that the real drivers were guys in the military-industrial complex. Those are the guys with the ruthlessness and the connections. So I think it's like E. Howard Hunt, Mongoose, CIA, and they all said, I think they took Bay of Pigs personally, and you can't blame them. Like, they set up this invasion against communism. A lot of these guys are like adventurers. They're Christians. They're Protestants. They really don't like communism. They see Castro as a communist agent. Mm-hmm. They've moved to overthrow him in this kind of operation. They don't get the support of Kennedy, so they take it personally. Like, I think he closed the door on him or something. Like, there was like, Kennedy was kind of one of them, but not one of them. And I think he showed it to him. So I think that they were willing to kill. Like, I think that drove. So it wasn't like an affront or a slight of like, oh, I made a mistake. I'm sorry, John. I didn't mean to close the door on your foot. It was a matter of life and death. And their Cuban friends and these people died at the Bay of Pigs on the beach. They didn't get the support. So with those deaths, that kind of seals it. So, like, this is a game of death. This isn't a high stakes game. It's beyond that. And so I think they're willing to put everything in place, get all the support, kill Kennedy, and cover up. There's so many other deaths after Kennedy, too, to make sure that this coup stays in place by the conspirators. And the conspirators are probably all continually massaging the facts in the public and getting their assets on board with the lone nut story for a decade at least. So I think Johnson is really kind of a beneficiary. Like, he's going to do what he's told because it benefits him. He's totally corrupt. He's about to go to jail. He hates the Kennedys. He feels like he's in their shadow. So to say, like, the mob or anything, they all wanted him dead. Like, that's the whole thing about, JFK had no allies, like no powerful allies. Like, they all hated him. So
Yeah.
It's not a surprise he was killed or RFK was killed. I mean, it's not a nice thing to say, but
yeah. Well, we know more about the RFK one, don't we?
we do. And here's another thing. This is Vallee. He'd spoken bitterly of JFK, blaming him for pulling air support off the Bay of Pigs invaders. We lost a lot of good men down there, Vallee would say. So he knew like this was like part of it was the Bay of Pigs, and that's what kind of Nixon infamously kind of said about Two Elms. Well, I want to know about this Bay of Pigs thing, which is this indirect reference to the JFK assassination.
Right.
So I think that's what's your take? I'll ask that question back to you. Do you think, like, I think the people, for me, like the really sophisticated people in the JFK community who lay it on one person,
right,
are either misinformed or misinformation agents, or
right.
I think
the big picture. You're right. I think it's a bunch of different people.
Yeah.
I think LBJ's mouth was watering a little more than everybody else's, just because he's just a greedy guy, a very greedy guy. He just wanted that presidential position just to show the Kennedys and stuff like that. But you're absolutely right. It was a mix of everybody. Yeah. Santos Trapacante, right? He had it out for the Kennedys.
Marcelo. Chicago mob. They felt betrayed by RFK going after him. So you have the entire mob of like pretty cold-blooded people, man. People who can kill.
Right.
And we know now, like the history has shown, that some of these guys, Trafficante and Johnny Rosselli, were involved in the gun running to Castro with the CIA people. They're friends. They're not just like so you see them in a separate thing. They're overlapping, and almost like Rosselli is an intermediary between these guys. So,
well, the interesting thing is, since Operation Underworld, like the intelligence community has had an incestuous relationship with the mob. Because they need Luciano to use his men to kind of guard the docks because they were afraid of a Nazi invasion back in the 40s.
Mm-hmm.
And so I mean, since then it's really been an incestuous relationship between like the CIA, the mafia, and I guess they, like, you're right, they all had a common enemy in JFK.
Yeah, like for a lot of reasons, like you said, I think it was Nelson, who unfortunately has passed away. It said it was LBJ's dream to be president. Like he had just an overwhelming ambition to get that thing. So to see JFK get killed is funny. And I think he was really a mega creep. And so like he would call Jacqueline and like talk to her, but the conversations are like an insight into LBJ's personality. Because like he probably knows her husband was wasted, and like he's talking to her, oh Jacqueline, my
right
sweetheart or whatever, like saying this.
He's definitely a psychopath.
Yeah, something like there's stories about it. He would give his presidential things on the toilet. That's a real story. So it's kind of like humiliating all of his other, his cabinet, like literally sitting on the throne and doing that. And also he whipped his freaking junk out in front of a press and said, this is why this is why we are in Vietnam.
Right.
He literally did that. Like, this is the president. Like, people just covered that stuff up. It's crazy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And to talk about a guy who should have never been president at all.
Yeah, no kidding. Yeah, no way.
And as far as that video I sent you, that one of the interesting things that came up in that video is like the Select Committee on Assassinations. That was in 1978, and all these people started showing up dead 48 hours within the
Trafficante and Rosselli both dead.
Yeah, there's some. I kind of wonder. And I don't mean to take us too far off subject, but I kind of wonder if that's what happened to William Joseph Bryan. He got a summons, and then he showed up dead, right? Because I guess it depends on when they started sending out the summonses, right? Or when they started planning it out.
A hotel is a great place to kill somebody. It really is. People, it's
Yeah.
because it's confined. People are usually alone. There's a lot of people walking in and out, so you can just be another person at the hotel. Like,
Yeah.
so many people die in these things. This is a really good article. Let me see if I can find a place to post this, because it's very much in detail about this one attempted shooting in Chicago. Like, it's like 10. How many pages is this?
I'll be right back. I
pages.
got to use the restroom because of
the
no
problem.
I'm taking.
All right, no problem.
Oh God.
Maybe I'll just wrap it up. Do you have anything else to say? I don't know.
No,
Todd's off. I mean, this guy Black is the one who did it, but it's just a lot of corroborates a lot of the stuff that of the original files.
I want to hear it. Hold on 1 second.
All right. Confirmation, Martineau, other arrests. There's all kinds of secret servants, but the Abraham Bolden case, I think he's still around. Like, it's a tragic whole situation. Let's see, what does this say? If anyone wants to find out the truth, if anybody wants to disprove that there was a conspiracy to kill JFK in Chicago 20 days before Dallas, it's easy. 1, show us the teletypes received by the Chicago office during the week of November 2nd. There were only a few. 2, give us the case titles on every CO file, any investigation controlled directly by the Secret Service Chief's office in Washington that originated the week of November 2nd. 3, have Motto, Stocks, Martineau, and Strong submit to a polygraph examination. That's all. Just those 3 things, and the Secret Service can prove all this is nonsense. Just some disgruntled sources within their own ranks. Just some journalist in Chicago trying to make a name for himself. Okay, smart guys, prove the conspiracy never happened. You have some of your own who swear I did. They swear that it was just the chance of a split-second decisions that kept Kennedy from actually flying to Chicago. That kept Thomas Arthur Vallee from falsely becoming one of the history's lone assassins because he worked in a well-located warehouse and fit a convenient personality stereotype. Split seconds from the world, remembering Chicago as a place that killed the President of the United States. It's pretty crazy. Yeah. Well, that's about it. I don't have anything else. Do you have anything else you want to wrap up? What have you been working on? Promote your stuff in Killafornia.
Oh, yeah, you can catch us on Killafornia. I'm not really sure when the release schedule is, but just keep your eyes on YouTube, and there should be new Killafornia episodes coming.
And I'll put a link to Killafornia there so people can click over and see all your work and stuff like that. But
yeah,
that's Todd Wood and on the Walter Bosley channel. And today we talked about Thomas Arthur Vallee, VLLEE, and the attempt on JFK in Chicago, which he never flew off to, but it's still present. It's incredible, our timing, that like D. Eugenio is talking about it in Congress. And then the next day we have this scheduled thing, but like JFK isn't going away. So
yeah,
it'll always be kind of like something for Americans to discuss and fret over. But more and more things are coming out, more confirmation. And these new documents, I think, are remarkable in just the sense that some of them are being put out unredacted and people are thinking about things and seeing more nuances in all the cases. So Todd, yeah, thanks a lot for your time.
Thank you for having me.
All right, stay there.